Hi friends, it's Auntie Cuckoo. Today we're making a resurrection garden. So this is something I've been wanting to make for years, and this is the year. I picked up these crosses from Hobby Lobby. They were 50% off. I paid roughly $10 to $11. I decided to spray paint mine black. You could leave yours brown. And I picked up this dish from a thrift store for $3. And I pulled out our old Frisbee. Now it's clean, but it's old. And I decided that that would be a good way to add a little bit of height to my crosses. I also picked up some rocks, and I also have some moss covered rocks. You can find those both at Dollar Tree. And I have a broken pot. This is a great project if you have any broken pots in your life. I'm starting out by hot gluing my crosses to the Frisbee. Now initially I thought I'm going to glue everything to the Frisbee and then I can remove it from the dish. But I love this so much, I went a little hog wild and I'm keeping it in the dish. So I just wanted to secure everything, and then I took out a knife and cutting board and I started slicing my moss covered rocks in half just to get the right height. And then I just started playing around with placement of them all around the broken pot as well as the crosses before I started hot gluing them in place. Now, quick note, you wouldn't have to buy these crosses from Hobby Lobby. You could always make some from sticks, popsicle sticks, or wooden pieces you have around. You can also buy pre-made wooden crosses at craft stores. I just really liked these so much. They look like nails and it was a pretty fair price. Now, you also wouldn't have to use moss covered rocks. You could always just use moss. I had these on hand and I thought that it would give a really nice hilly, rocky look. So that's what I used, and I know that the ones at Dollar Tree can be hard to find the larger ones. I have found the smaller ones in past, and now I'm using some of the smaller ones. I'm cutting them in half to glue them into any empty little spaces. I'm also going to be using lots of moss in those little areas, so never fear if you can't find something, you can always use moss. Now, I'm making this as a sort of tribute to a friend who made me one before her passing. She actually used grass from her backyard, so I know a lot of people like to make these with live elements. I'm making this so that I can use it for years to come, but just think about that. You could use any kind of greenery you have, live or faux. And if you like this sort of hilly style, you could always use Easter eggs glued upside down to give the hill effect before covering them in all of your greenery and moss. As you can see, I am being very particular, tucking in little pieces of moss wherever there was any small opening. Now I'm going to get to covering the pot because I do want it to truly look like a rock tomb. And for this, I'm using one of my moss covered rocks cut in half. Now, the interesting thing that I figured out when I was playing with these is I cut them in half and realized I could actually peel the styrofoam center out of them, and then I just have this piece of kind of grass, a mound of it, and so that worked really well for covering the front edge of the tomb. I just used some hot glue and a few of those that I had peeled off and just tucked it right around, and I think it turned out gorgeous. Initially, I wasn't going to cover the entire tomb, but the more I played with it, I thought it would just be beautiful. I'm so glad I did. Once I was finished covering my tomb with all of the different larger rock moss covered pieces, I went back in with lots and lots of loose moss, different kinds, all of them from the Dollar Tree. I've used them spring after spring, and I just keep them in a Ziploc bag when I'm not using them. But this time around, they're going to be staying for a while. I love this piece. I think it is absolutely stunning, and it is what Easter is all about to me. Now, quick note, I know that the tomb was not this close in perspective to the crosses. I've actually done a little bit of research, and turns out it's right around 200 feet in reality. But for this instance, I wanted them together just because they tell the Easter story so beautifully. Now, once I had finished with all of my moss and got it looking just how I wanted, I realized I was missing a big part of the story. So I went out front to our front yard where I found this beautiful stone, and it seems to be the perfect size. So I just set it on the edge. I'm not going to secure that one with glue, but I am bringing back all those stones that I showed you. I actually picked mine up from Pop top shelf, so I know they sell them at Dollar General and places like Dollar Tree, and I just really kind of wanted it to look super natural and hilly because it was a rock tomb that Jesus was buried in before rising on the third day. So I wanted to give that sort of stony, hilly look. And once I had my rocks in place, I realized I should have done this beforehand. Before I even started the project, I went ahead and painted the inside of the tomb black because, of course, it was empty on the third day. Now I decided to go ahead and make a crown of thorns. I actually have been trimming the hedges around our house after a winter frost, and I saved a few of these for this project. I did take some floral wire I picked up at Dollar Tree, just made a crown or circular shape. For the first few branches, I decided to wind the wire sort of around the branch to bring it into a circular shape, and it really did take adding each additional branch to get the right shape. I just would put them where it needed to be stretched out a little bit more. These are not super pliable. They're just from my front yard, but I do think that they look beautiful, and I think that it ended up looking very realistic, just like a crown of thorns. Now, I do know that Dollar Tree also sells smaller grapevine wreaths, so if you can find them, you could always substitute that for making your own. It was fairly easy and really quite calming. So what I would do is just cut off small pieces of floral wire and then use maybe a 3-inch piece to secure 2 pieces of the sticks together, and then I would use my needle nose pliers just to sort of really tighten them and twist them round and round until I had them nice and secure, and then I could trim off any extra or just bend it around. And then I finished off by clipping down some of the pieces that looked out of place, maybe adding with hot glue a piece where I think it was needed, and before I knew it, I had a beautiful crown of thorns. Now, I wasn't going to use these together initially, but I decided just setting it on the back cross, it just completed the story, and I think this is gorgeous. It turned out far more beautiful than I had ever imagined, and I think it makes a beautiful piece in your home for the Easter season. I know with Good Friday and Easter approaching, I am just joyed to have this on the end of my counter. I think it is gorgeous. It has so much meaning for such a time as this. I hope this brought you a little joy seeing how I created my own resurrection garden. Remember to look around the house. You don't have to go shopping in order to make one of these. Maybe go out in the front yard, the backyard, see what you can find, and maybe go through some garden supplies and find an old saucer, because that's what my friend Renee would have done, and she's the reason I say hi friends at the start of each of my videos. That's how she always addressed her kids, and it's my little way of remembering a friend. So I hope that you enjoyed seeing how I put this together and maybe how you could make your own. I hope you have a beautiful Good Friday, and I do hope you have a wonderful Easter Sunday. He is risen. I'll see you in the next one.